Tonight, Donald Trump's bold new threat against Mexico.
We are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels.
What it could mean for Canada. A family returns home from holiday to find nothing but rubble.
Complete and utter shock, to say the least.
How a major mistake has left them stuck in a legal nightmare. Plus, chasing the Olympic dream.
Whether it's training costs, gym costs.
The financial hurdles athletes face on the quest for gold.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. Days after using the military to force a leadership change in Venezuela, Donald Trump is now talking tough on Mexico, musing about land strikes in that country against the cartel. He made the comments on Fox News, and it's raising a lot of concern tonight. CTV's senior correspondent Judy Trin takes a closer look at what it could mean for Canada.
The U.S. claimed the capture of Nicolas Maduro was about stopping narco-terrorism. Now President Donald Trump is signaling he may send American troops onto Mexican soil.
We've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by water, and we are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says she has already turned down multiple U.S. offers to intervene. Trump may not be listening.
I think for Canada, that's also dangerous. Don't forget that when we started this year, a lot of the discussion was around "quote unquote" fentanyl flows across borders, and he lumped Canada and Mexico into the same basket.
The U.S. has declared 8 cartels terror organizations. 7 of them are based in Mexico. Last September, the Prime Minister acknowledged some of them also operate in Canada.
With respect to transnational crime, organized crime, cartels, gangs, the unfortunate fact is that there are gangs from one country in another country, but also vice versa.
Mexico and Canada are stepping up efforts to disrupt drug networks, including raids to close in on Ryan Wedding, an alleged Canadian cocaine kingpin believed to be protected by the Sinaloa cartel. After raising alarms in Mexico with his Fox interview, Trump is digging in on taking Greenland by force.
But if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
As part of its national security strategy to dominate the Western Hemisphere, the Trump administration issued this crude warning on social media: F around and find out. A policy that leaves Canada vulnerable.
If you are weak and you are doing stuff Trump doesn't like, and you can be an ally or you can be an adversary, right? You can be Canada or you can be Venezuela, but you get FAFO'd.
In a recent interview with the New York Times, Trump said his power is not constrained by international law or Congress, but by his own morality. He says that's the only thing that can stop him. Heather.
CTV's Judy Trin in Ottawa. As the U.S. eyes control of Venezuela's oil industry, Donald Trump met with American oil executives today and invited 2 global superpowers to buy oil from him.
We are open for business. China can buy all the oil they want from us there or in the United States. Russia can get all the oil they need from us.
Trump also justified his administration's capture of former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, arguing Russia and China would have if the U.S. didn't first. Meanwhile, U.S. forces have seized a 5th sanctioned oil tanker. U.S. Southern Command releasing this video that shows troops boarding a tanker in the Caribbean Sea. The ship appears on sanctions lists of multiple countries. The U.S. says it's using the seizures to pressure Venezuela to remove its so-called dark fleet, which allegedly consists of over 1,000 vessels that transport illicit oil. The U.S. Supreme Court did not issue a decision today in the high-profile case challenging Donald Trump's tariffs. The case is centered around whether Trump overstepped his presidential powers by using a decades-old law and declaring a national emergency to impose sweeping tariffs. The delay keeps tariffs and uncertainty in place for businesses and American trading partners. New video from Minneapolis shows the moments before the deadly shooting of a woman in her vehicle from the immigration enforcement officer's perspective. A warning, the footage is disturbing.
I'm not mad at you.
Renee Good speaking to the man who would pull the trigger seconds later. He films her license plate and circles the vehicle when the shooting takes place. Vigils have been held across the country in memory of the 37-year-old mother and U.S. citizen. Protests also continued today in Minneapolis in what has become a flashpoint in the Trump administration's crackdown in U.S. cities. Anti-government protests are raging in Iran for a 13th day. The country has imposed a nationwide internet blackout. This is one of the few videos that have emerged since that crackdown. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is dismissing the protesters as, quote, a bunch of vandals, saying they're trying to please Donald Trump, who has threatened Iran if the government kills protesters. Some mixed news for the Canadian economy, with more people employed, but still even more looking. Over 8,000 jobs were added last month, higher than expected, most of it full-time work. But despite the gains, the unemployment rate also rose slightly to 6.8%, with more people still searching. Job losses were led by an age group that for some time now has been struggling to get into the employment market. Young workers aged 15 to 24 account for close to 30,000 job losses in December. CTV's Andrew Johnson speaks to students and has more on what is going on.
Since high school graduation a year and a half ago at Metro Vancouver, finding a full-time job has been filled with rejection for Omar Yunus.
Any job. Construction, customer service, sales, anything.
What's the response been when you apply for jobs?
We're gonna call you. We're gonna call you later.
Across the country at Carleton University, Israel Thomas is going to hold on to her part-time position in case she can't find a job in her field.
I don't see myself quitting under any circumstances because I don't think that there's another job waiting around the corner right now. It's a bit scary. I won't go as far as say hopeless, but it's intimidating.
The numbers suggest many other young people may be in the same boat. At one point, the youth jobless rate in the second half of 2025 was worse than any time in the past decade and a half, except for the pandemic.
The struggles of young people are real.
Experts point to economic uncertainty created by the U.S. trade war, making it harder to get your foot in the door. The rise of AI is also a factor, but not in the way you may think.
It does have an impact on roles that are highly repetitive and don't require a lot of critical thinking or thought, which is some of those entry-level roles, but it is not taking jobs away. People who are comfortable with the technology are getting jobs faster than people who are not.
She says AI can help you polish your resume, but it's good old-fashioned networking. Connections you can make through family, friends, even a neighbor that may actually land you a job. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Today marked the official departure of high-profile Liberal MP Chrystia Freeland from the House of Commons, ending more than a decade-long run in federal politics. Freeland has taken a new unpaid position advising the Ukrainian government. Opposition MPs say she should have vacated her seat before accepting the role with Volodymyr Zelensky. Freeland's exit now leaves the Liberals 2 seats shy of a majority. A by-election could come as early as March. There is finally a resolution to the years-long ordeal of a Toronto area family. Their home was knocked down by mistake while they were on vacation. CTV's John Woodward shows us what they've gone through.
So this whole portion had gone.
This is the lot where Angelo Wrightson's house used to be.
It was just complete and utter shock, to say the least.
A shock when he was on vacation with his family and got this picture through a text from his neighbor, his house halfway to rubble.
I couldn't believe my eyes.
His pictures and videos show what the house was like in 2018 before and after. It became an open house well after it was listed for sale.
I have a family, 3 children, so I think it's quite unfair to them and to my wife, who cries on a daily basis over this situation.
He sued Como Trucking and Excavation and others for $1.5 million, alleging instead of demolishing the building property located at 25 Theodore Drive, Mississauga, the defendants demolished or partially demolished beyond repair the building owned by the plaintiffs at 28 Theodore Drive. The dispute stuck in court since then.
The bigger shock, I would say, is that it's been 7.5 years.
CTV News got in touch with Kevin Como, who admitted a worker dropped the excavator off at the wrong house. But he said the mistake was more understandable because the homeowner had taken steps to get a demolition permit and cut off utilities. The legal dispute about how much to pay back, more for a complete house or less for a partial one. The contractor's insurance company, Intact, telling CTV News, our team continues to be engaged in discussions and has made a number of attempts to reach a reasonable resolution. Wright Senior said he did think about knocking the house down and building a dream home there, but stopped because he didn't have the cash. He also didn't have his own home insurance.
My wife thought I had taken care of it and vice versa.
Late Friday, we learned that this lawsuit has settled just days ahead of the expected trial date on Monday, meaning we can expect some construction here in the near future and a house once again. Heather?
Thanks, John. CTV's John Woodward in Mississauga, Ontario. Members of the military are set to deploy to northern Manitoba after calls for help from a remote First Nation. A specialized team from the Canadian Armed Forces is going to Pimichikamak Cree Nation, where a 4-day power outage has led to sewage backups, burst pipes, and water shortages. 4,000 people had to be evacuated from the community, which is about 500 kilometers north of Winnipeg. Meanwhile, evacuation efforts in a remote northern Ontario First Nation have been halted by severe weather. A state of emergency remains in place for Kashechewan First Nation. Last weekend, the water treatment system failed, sending sewage into homes and contaminating the water supply. Indigenous Services Canada has sent technicians to help repair the failing infrastructure. Hospitals across the country are trying to manage a capacity crisis driven by a massive number of flu cases. And while the latest numbers indicate the peak could be behind us, as CTV's Abigail Beeman reports, experts say that may not solve the problem.
We just don't have the ability to look after the people who walk through our doors.
The situation in Alberta hospitals is so dire, the Alberta Medical Association wants the province to declare a state of emergency.
People are not surprised to wait 16, 18, 24 hours to be seen with a medical emergency in an emergency department. If that isn't a state of emergency, I don't know what is.
The government says the calls are misguided and measures the exceptionally busy system has taken are in line with past winters, including canceling some scheduled surgeries. Meanwhile, new national flu numbers up to January 3rd show the percentage of positive tests is down. Outbreaks are down and hospitalizations are stable. But cases are still high.
We've certainly seen a little bit of an uptick.
Newfoundland and Labrador now reporting 2 flu deaths, with the latest case numbers 3 times higher than the 5-year average. In Ontario, this Sault Ste. Marie hospital says a drop in flu cases alone won't solve the problem, where for the first time in a long time, patients are cared for in dining rooms and hallways.
Waiting in hospital for alternate discharge locations, limited primary care in the community, and the aging population and comorbidities are still impacting our volumes.
Ottawa, too, forced to use dining rooms and hallways while operating over capacity in a surge.
It is largely related to potentially influenza, but also complications related to influenza.
So complex medical patients, patients that are a bit elderly, even our really young patients can be affected quite significantly.
Across the country, cases among those 19 and younger previously leading the way have dropped off sharply, while cases among those 65 and older have soared. Heather?
CTV's Abigail Beeman in the nation's capital. Coming up tonight.
It's a historic moment for people living with Alzheimer's disease and their families.
How a new drug in Canada is giving hope to those suffering with Alzheimer's. A new drug to treat Alzheimer's was administered to a Canadian for the first time today. The treatment is giving patients and their families a glimmer of hope. But as CTV's Adrian Ghobrial shows us, there are still questions over who will cover the cost.
It's starting right now.
With the press of a button, the miracle that is modern medical science goes to work.
I say to anybody who needs this procedure that if they can get it, get it.
Sharon Runge began experiencing mild memory loss about 4 years ago.
Probably in the last year or so, the diagnosis of Alzheimer's has been made.
The Runge family have been waiting for Health Canada to approve this drug that will gift them life's most valuable commodity, time.
It's a historic moment for people living with Alzheimer's disease and their families in Canada.
Today marked the first ever infusion of lecanemab in Canadian history, administered by neurologist Dr. Sarah Mitchell.
It's a monoclonal antibody. It goes in and it basically removes the bad plaques from the brain. It slows down the progression of the disease by about 30%.
Canada is the last of the G7 nations to approve lecanemab. As of today, it still isn't covered by any province, and that comes at a cost.
$32,000 Canadian, and that is per year. We are hoping that we can have equal access for all Canadians to this drug, and that requires government support.
Any future funding of the drug has received some public pushback.
Well, I'd say they should walk in our shoes.
The infusions yield the best outcomes for those battling the early stages of the disease. While Sharon admits she's unaware of her cognitive deterioration, her sense of humor is on point when we ask that she share her age.
I'm 16.
No, she's...
And the love that she has for her children, as well as her husband Dallard, remains as present as ever.
I am so fortunate to have met him. He's the most important thing in my life.
The Runges now have hope that their loving life together will also have longevity. The troublesome protein can gather in the brain decades before symptoms arrive. The next step is testing whether this drug can help offset Alzheimer's in asymptomatic patients. Adrian Ghobrial, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead, the climb to net zero. The big challenges a small province is facing in the fight on climate change. Canada's smallest province is making a sizable dent in the fight against climate change. Prince Edward Island reporting a drop in carbon emissions 3 years in a row. CTV's Maria Saru on the island's pursuit of net zero and the challenges that lie ahead.
Prince Edward Island is getting bigger fast, but its greenhouse gas emissions are going the other way, dropping for a third year straight. The province credits energy efficiency upgrades, land protection, and much more.
PEI is very proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish with the help of Islanders.
According to the newest numbers, the province's GHG emissions were nearly 1.6 megatons in 2023, down almost 1% year over year, despite population growth of close to 17% in the same period. But more people means more cars and more trips, making transportation the biggest source of emissions. It's not just a challenge in PEI, but a Canada-wide pattern, says climate expert Adam Thorne.
We have an economic system that's very much rooted in our transportation system. We move lots of goods and services across the country with vehicles as well.
He adds the transition to EVs is part of the fix, but uptake has cooled. Registrations surged in late 2024, hitting 18.3%, but they stayed under 10% throughout most of 2025. Thorne points to Ottawa's abrupt pause on the federal EV purchase incentive early last year, which has since ended. But back on the island, the work continues with incentives of its own.
We're going to keep encouraging with our programs like rebates on electric vehicles, and we're going to keep adding with our active transportation projects.
While moving in the right direction, PEI still isn't at its 2030 target of 1.2 megatons. The province says its net zero action plan is coming in the next few months, spelling out more solutions. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
I'm John Valley Rao. Coming up on CTV National News, the financial obstacles in the quest for gold.
I think that's something that we're always fighting for as athletes, to make sure that we're supported.
What Canada's Olympians say they need to bring home glory. Coming up on CTV National News.
The 23 women's hockey players who will represent Canada at the Winter Olympics have been revealed, and some of them were on hand at today's announcement.
I'm filled with nothing but excitement and confidence about what our team is capable of.
When I look at the roster, I see so much skill and so much compete, and then obviously a ton of experience as well. But with that experience, there's also 7 first-time Olympians, and I think as a group, we're so proud of them.
The event featured a video of young players announcing the roster, which, along with 7 rookies, will include 16 players who won gold at the 2022 Olympic Winter Games in Beijing. And one star player named to that roster today is Natalie Spooner. Excited to be among the veterans on the ice in Italy, she's also drawing attention to the financial toll it can take on some athletes. CTV's John Valley Rao with more on the cost of that quest for gold.
Hey, how's it going? We caught up with Natalie Spooner at the rink ahead of a practice as she reflected on just being named once again to the women's Olympic hockey team.
I mean, it's a dream come true. I'm so excited, overcome with emotion, but really just looking forward to getting there with our team.
Spooner's been with Team Canada to the Olympics 3 times before, twice striking gold, and now plays pro hockey with the Toronto Scepters. In part today, drawing attention to athlete funding. These scratch and win tickets in Ontario celebrate a program called Quest for Gold that sees lottery money help to fund the province's athletes, many of whom have struggled financially.
For me, Quest for Gold has helped me a lot throughout my career, whether it's training costs, gym costs, physio costs, accommodation.
With the Olympics in Italy weeks away, it is drawing attention to the money challenges Canadian athletes face, with some having a tough time paying rising team fees that can be in the tens of thousands of dollars, on top of covering travel and equipment, food and rent.
Certainly many go into debt to fund their Olympic careers. And I worry that their Olympic careers are shortened because of the financial burden that puts upon them.
Some point to countries like Italy and France, which spend more than 10 times as much per person on sport. Ottawa hasn't increased core funding for national sports organizations in 20 years, and there was no new money for them in the last federal budget. Athletes say instead of focusing on training, many have to work.
We've got athletes that work in part-time retail at the mall. Most of the ones I know are in some sort of debt. It's just part of chasing that dream here.
According to one nonprofit funding group, 3 out of 5 athletes who've applied for money are in debt. Just over half work.
There is carding money from the government. Could it be increased to meet inflation? For sure.
And with all the recent talk about spending more on nation building, many athletes believe sport should be a part of that. John Valley Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
That is our newscast for this Friday night. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.